Welcome to the test review for Unit 6. We're going to get right into it. Try to make sure I answer all your questions. Watch the videos over and over if you need to. You're still going to take the test when I see you. I do apologize for not being there today, but my son was feeling ill this morning. So, here we go. I will warn you to make sure that you're ready for tomorrow and that you'll be allowed to make sure, don't forget to make your note card, alright? Anyways, if I remember anything else, I'll tell you as I go. So let's look at the first couple of problems. Number one, square root of 216. And this might go a little long, so kind of keep that in mind. I'll try to do my best. And then number two, square root of negative 350. I'm going to go ahead and do this one, both of these by the factor tree method, and then I'll try to do it again by the perfect square method. Anyways, 216, I would say, okay, is divisible by 2. I get 108, 2, and that would give me 54, 2, 27, 3, 9, 3, 3. Okay, and again, you're only looking at the end numbers. Pair of 2s, pair of 3s. So I have a pair of 2s, pair of 3s, and then left over I have a 2 and a 3, 2 and a 3 left over. That means multiply 6 square root of 6. I'll show you how to do this by perfect squares in a minute. Here, negative 350. Again, first thing you're going to keep in mind that negative is going to be an I, so I'm going to ignore that. And if you see a 0, go ahead and shorten it up a little bit and put 10, like divided by 10. So 10 and 35, this is 2 and 5, this is 5 and 7, and that's it. Ooh, that works out nicely. So you got a pair of 5s, 5, I, there's my I for the negative, and then 2 times 7 would be 14. So 5 square root of 14. Okay, the perfect square method, you would have to have your table in front of you, and you start dividing into them. So like here, if you start going through all these numbers that you see off to the side here, you won't get to it until 36. 36 will go into it 6 times. Now keep in mind, when you do it like this number here on the left is the number that you can take the square root of, which square root of 36 is 6, and then the number on the right would stay there under the square root symbol. Here, I'm going to say, alright, first off, I've got an I. You can go through the list and you start going through these numbers, all the way to 25. 25 will go into this, just one second. So 25 goes into it 14 times. Square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 14, obviously we can't take, and so there you go. So there's the square root method. I mean, it looks shorter, but again, keep in mind you're doing a lot of extra dividing here, like because you're choosing numbers that are under the number that might be there. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind, but there you go. Moving on. Okay, so here we're going to solve these by the square root method. Notice there is no x term, it's just x squared. So the first thing you want to do is get the x squared by itself. So let's like move the 48 over. That would be x squared is equal to 48. Then take the square root. That allows you to say x equals plus or minus. Do not forget the plus or minus. And the square root of 48 would be, say, let's say 16 and 3, 4 and 4, and then, you know, that would be 2 and 2. So I would have a pair of 4s, square root of 3. And that would be my answer. Here I'm going to move this over, and that would be 2x squared equals negative 212. Divide by 2. You get x squared is equal to negative 106. Now, because of that, and here's where I'll take my square root. So notice the last thing I'm going to do is take my square root. So I'm keeping it simple. You're moving things over. You're dividing by 2, maybe at the most, something like that. Anyways, x equals plus minus, because of the negative, I'm going to put an I. This would be 2 and 53, which that's actually a prime number also. So I'm just going to leave it like that, 106. Okay, I mean, if you can at least do that, you would still be getting most of the credit. And again, if there's happens to be some that you can reduce further, then great. And I would, want that for extra points. Okay. You're going to probably want to pause this, but don't forget this factoring table that we used before, because you will have some problems about factoring. Okay, so let's look at, say, number 5 and number 6. Notice here I have minus plus, so I'm going to say x minus x minus. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 54. Would add up to 15. So again, this is based off what we saw. So like 54 divided by 1 is 54, by 2 is 27, by 3 gives me 18, and well, I'm thinking 18 plus 3, but that's not, I remember adding, so be careful, make sure you're paying attention to that. 5 won't go into it, 6 goes into it 9 times, so it's 9 and 6. Always try to keep the larger number on the left, and there you go. Factoring, that's all you're doing. Alright, here minus minus is x minus plus. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 56, would subtract to give me a 10. So divide by 1, you get that. 2, you get 28. 3 does not go into it. 4 goes into it 14 times, and 14 minus 4 is 10. So I can stop there. I mean, technically there's one more, but that's it. So it'd be 14 here, 4 here, and again, you're done. Whoopsie. Don't know why I was doing that. Okay, so what did we do differently on number 7? Because there's a number in front, you put a 3 in front of both. And then you also have to multiply. So now I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 105, but would subtract to give me a 16 minus plus. So 1 and 105. 2 doesn't go into it. 3 goes into it, obviously, 35 times. 4 doesn't go into it. 5 goes into it 21 times, and 21 times minus 5 is 16. So here we go, 21 and 5. Now, this will get you full credit. But you can see here, one of these is divisible by 3, so I can divide by 3, x minus 7, 3x plus 5, and I will get a second answer that will give me extra credit. So this one's full, that one's extra. Okay, now we got them solved by factoring. And again, remember, you have to show me these steps correctly to do this, or to get credit. Here, I want everything to be on one side. I want it to equal 0. So like on number 8, I'm fine. I can go, okay, x equals 0, x plus. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 20, add up to 9. And you can go, okay, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5, and there you go. 4 and 5 will give me 9. So I would put 5 here, 4 here, set them equal to 0, and basically, again, as we've said before, that just means that it's going to change the sign for both of them, and that would be your final answer. Over here on number 9, I need to move this 12 over, and I'm going to say x squared plus 8x. Now that negative 12 will become positive 12. Positive 12. And then we're going to go, okay, again, plus. And I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 12, add up to 8, which would be 6 and 2. Set those equal to 0. And then you can say again the opposite, x equals negative 6 or negative 2. Just take the opposite of what you're seeing in parentheses and you should be fine. By the way, let's throw in a secret word as I'm writing in number 10. So, in honor of the fact that we had snow, we'll go with let's just say white Christmas. So if you can make sure you write white Christmas on the test, you will get some extra credit. Alright, so let's look at this again. That's 2x. I'm going to multiply 2 times 20 to get 56. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 56, add up to 15, which if you go through all those is going to be 8 and 7. And then basically you're setting those equal to 0 and solving, which is still essentially all that is take the opposite and then divide by the number. So the opposite of negative 8 is positive 8, and then I'm going to divide by 2 to get x equals 4. The opposite of negative 7 is positive 7. Divide by 2, which will give me 7 halves, and you can leave it like that. And there you go. That's as hard as that gets. And that's that for that. Alright, so now let's look at 11 and 12. Okay, so all you got to do here is divide by 2. So if you divide by 2, you get negative 9, and then square that. 9 squared would be 81, and you're done. Here, I divide by 2, and I get 13 13 squared is 169. So again, that's it. That completes the squared and allows you to go from the trinomial down to that binomial in the parentheses. Okay, so there you go. Very simple, right? Okay, so again, with completing the square, our first step is we're going to move the, get the x's by themselves. So I'm going to have here x squared minus 12x plus a blank equals negative 73. Now what we're going to do is put here parentheses x squared, and we're going to divide this 12 by 2 to give me negative 6. 6 squared is 36, and then I'm going to say plus 36 over here. 36 plus the 73, negative 73, would give me, let's see here, negative 37. Okay, then you can take the square root, and you'll say x minus 6 is equal to plus or minus negative, notice the negative's in that square root, so I'm going to say I square root of 37. Move the 6 over, and now you're going to say x is equal to positive 6 plus or minus I square root of 37. 37 is a prime number, so you're done. If you do get one where you can further simplify it, great, go ahead and do it. But if you get this far, that's all you got to do. I at least want to see get the I out and stuff like that. Here at number 14, we're going to do the same thing. Move the 98 over. That's going to become positive 98. So I'm going to have x squared plus, I did 12x on both of them. That's weird. Equals 98. I'm going to have here parentheses x squared. And again, I'm going to say divide by 2. Get 6. That would give me 36. Plus 36, and then I have here, I'm going to end up with 100, and let's see here, that's 134, and so I'm going to take the square root of that again, so now I have x plus 6 is equal to plus or minus square root of 134. Move the 6 over, and you have x is equal to negative 6 plus or minus square root of 134. And that right there would get you full credit. But again, you can probably further simplify that. Let's see. Actually, I don't think you can because I get 2 and 67 and I can't think of any numbers that divide into 67. So, we're done there. Yay! Alright, moving on. So, how is number 15 slightly different? Some of y'all had a little bit of problems with number 15. But let's look at that. X squared plus 36x minus 73 equals 100. 100. Why can't I write 100? Alright, so this is what I saw some of y'all do, and I like this. Move the 73 over. You now have x squared plus 36x equals 100 plus 73. Like you just left it like that for temporarily. That's fine with me. Alright, so I'm going to put this right here, and I'm going to say x, and I'm going to divide by 2. So that would give me 18 divided by 2. Square that, I would have 324. So I'm going to add 324 over here. Ooh, dang that might be some big numbers. So I add those together and I get 497. And then again, I would take the square root, so that leave me with x plus 18 is equal to plus or minus square root of 497. Move the 18 over. I forgot to write the square root. There we go. And I would have negative 18 plus or minus square root of 497. And then I guess you could try to simplify it, but again, time-wise, I would say just stop there, you're good, and you're done. And that's it for that one. And that's it for completing the square, and we're ready to move on to quadratic formula. Okay, so real quick, here's the quadratic formula again. It says has to equal 0, so make sure everything's on the left, and that you could say negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c over 2a. What that means is basically, like I said, leave the b's and the a's and the c's blank and put the numbers that you're referring to in those blank spots. So I always start off having mine look like something like this and then go from there. So let's try that. So problem number 16, I have 4x squared minus 9x plus 17 equals 0. So a is 4, b is negative 9, c is 17. Alright, so now I'm ready to plug this in. Notice how I've already got everything written here with the blanks. So that way when I put something like negative 9, I know that's going to become positive. And so all I'm doing right now is just plugging the numbers in and I'm going to see what I get. So right at this point I have x is equal to 9 plus or minus, I'm getting here square root of negative 191 over 8. Okay, so negative 191, first off I would put I, so I plus or minus 191 over 8. If you can further simplify that, that's great. I would go ahead and count it right here because I would want to, again, time-wise, I don't want y'all having to spend a lot of time simplifying because you've already had some problems about that. Okay, so again, here's number 17. A is equal to 2, B is equal to 5, C is equal to negative 9. And again, I would start plugging in the numbers in here. 5, 5, 2, negative 9, and then 2. So this would give me negative 5 plus or minus